Kyrin, coming back at you with another book review. Today I have the book The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. Now this book is considered a classic of economics. It was written in 1776, so it's got a fair few years on it. It's composed of 5 books or chapters, I suppose, each one of these being a separate entity in itself that make up the general theory in total. So book number 1, General Principles of Labor and Money. He also goes here into the division of labor. 2, Stock and Capital. 3rd book, Differences in Nations and how different nations have, I suppose, the reasons why some prosper and some don't. Political systems and their regard to economy. And 5th, the revenue of the sovereign and commonwealth. And so this book, as mentioned, is considered a classic, and many people have read it. I unfortunately are not one of those because I was only able to get through about 10%, so 50-60 pages of the book before I had to give it up. I just could not get through. I did try reading from the start, read about, 40 pages, and then flipped through other pieces throughout the book and tried to see okay, is it just the start that I'm struggling with, or is it everywhere? No, it was really everywhere. So the themes, I enjoyed the topic. The topic I find quite interesting. I suppose general economics and the theory of how money moves, why people do things. It's almost like a psychological sort of thing as well. And I feel that's quite similar to economics nowadays, where people think, okay, this is what... I think it's quite similar to economics nowadays, where it's a lot more about the psychology and of the individual and as a group. Whereas with his work here, from what I could read, it seems to be more focused on the principles of supply and demand and how money moves in the market, why money was created, things like that. So it's actually been approved by Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. If you don't know who those two people are, they are the founders of Berkshire Hathaway, one of the, richest companies in the world. And Warren Buffett himself has billions and billions of dollars. He recommends this book. So obviously, if you want to understand more about how he created his wealth, he found this book quite helpful as well. So observations and why I couldn't actually get through the book. The main principal reason I think that I couldn't get through it was the style of the writing. It has that very old English style, and I'm going to read a little passage here and just to show what it's like and why I personally felt like I wasn't getting much. So this is from page 313 on stock lent at interest. The stock which is lent at interest is, no doubt, occasionally employed in both these ways, but in the former much more frequently than in the latter. The man who borrows in order to spend will soon be ruined, and he who lends to him will generally have occasion to repent of his folly. To borrow or to lend for such a purpose, therefore, is in all cases, where gross usury is out of the question, contrary to the interest of both parties. And though no doubt it happens sometimes that people do both the one and the other, yet from the regard that all men have for their own interest, we may be assured that it cannot happen so very frequently as we sometimes apt to imagine. That was 2 sentences there. So that's his style of writing. Lots of commas, no very short, simple sentences saying this is this, this is this. It's a real flowing sort of work, and denseness of the text. I'll hold it up. I'm not sure if you can see it that well in the video, but it is just a dense text. There's about 570 something pages in it, and it is not what I would consider a plain and concise book. What I actually found quite interesting was the introduction of the history of the author, of actually Douglas Adams. And so he was born, during the Scottish Enlightenment, where he went through this period of personal growth, and he had one of those, sort of polymath type of professions where he was very good at economics, but also with science, with physics, and would tutor a rich prince or duke of something and follow them around Europe and just teach them, be their personal tutor. So I actually found his life the intro of the book, more entertaining than the actual book itself. So overall, I have to give it a 3 out of 10 just because I couldn't read it. Like, it was impossible for me to read. I do like the topic, I do like the theme, and with that, I'm actually going to give a recommendation. I did a little bit of searching on YouTube, and I found there was actually some videos that go through like a chapter by chapter, condensing this, what would take, I don't know how many hours, probably like at least 10 hours worth of reading, probably closer to 20, down into 5-minute segments where they will get like the highlights of the book. I'm assuming they've read it. I don't know for sure. I'm gonna have to go with trust on that. And while I won't get the richness that you normally would in a full book, I feel in this case I'm obviously not getting anything out of this just because I can't read it. So that's my, I guess, like pragmatic decision after reading this book. I'm gonna look through some of those videos, see how they go. Might even come back with another recommendation some other time. But that's it. Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations, a 3 out of 10, but that is mostly because I could not read it, and whether others can read it and explain to me why I did so poorly, that would be helpful. But apart from that, that's me for now. Kyrin out.